I'm gonna have to look at legislation real quick. Just a moment.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Take your time.
Let's see. Um. Wait, I'm confused. Is marijuana not legal?
I don't know. You tell
I'm
me. You're the
so
officer.
confused. Well, according to the legislation, it indicates 28 grams or below is it is a charge, but I thought
Below?
correct, which is my
How does that
concern
make
because I
sense?
well, it's essentially stating any amount. But they're specifying there's Schedule 3, Schedule 2. There's different degrees. Sorry, there's third degree, second degree, first degree of a Schedule 3 drug. Um,
So if it's above 28, it's like drug trafficking?
no, it just becomes like an increased charge, similar to speeding, where low amounts of speeding is third degree. In the middle is second, and then excessive speeding is first degree. Exact same thing.
It's weird. Why isn't it like a flat charge or something?
The quantity does matter. Oftentimes, different degrees of charges are literally just to indicate there was a higher amount involved.
Okay.
Um. Hmm. Okay. So then there's also the Marijuana Decriminalization Act. Um. Let's see. Do, do, do. Enforcement. The possession of up to 6 marijuana joints or an equivalent amount of weed baggies will be legal for adults. Law enforcement will. There's
That
literally two
seems
pieces of
really confusing.
legislation conflicting.
Yeah, that seems really confusing.
Um, Law enforcement authorities are mandated to ensure compliance with these possession limits. All persons shall be assumed to be within the legal quantity of marijuana by default and will not, under any circumstances, be eligible to be detained or searched using probable cause for the possession of marijuana alone without articulable probable cause that an individual exceeds the limits. The act of a citizen smoking, rolling, or displaying marijuana shall not invoke or engage reasonable suspicion or probable cause for any further investigation, detainment, or search. Um, Legal possession limits. Citizens of the state of San Andreas may possess in total up to 6 marijuana joints. Alternatively, they may possess up to 3 marijuana baggies for pipe smoking or rolling. Citizens are also afforded having an. Okay. Um.
I think that
Wow.
means my possession is legal.
Yeah, that is correct. Based upon this, and this was signed August 28th, and the prior one. Just a moment. The prior one was enacted literally a month earlier, July 29th. Um, I just, okay. Gonna go ahead and search it here. I'm not gonna take that for now. I have no reason to, given the circumstances. Um, Mr. Mime, do you require any of the food on your person? Are you hungry? I'm gonna have to seize your
Uh,
possessions, and if you need it, I'll.
no, I'm good.
Okay, all right. So you're good there. I am gonna seize these possessions. We should be good. I have no reason to take your knife or anything to that extent for the time being. There we are. I'm gonna get these shackles off. I'll exit the cell and then lock it up, and then I'll get you uncuffed.
Okay.
There we are. Here we go. If you wouldn't mind just turning around. There we are. Get you out of the cuffs. All right, Mr. Mime. Actually, sit tight.
Yeah, no problem. I could sit
I
tight.
need to find someone.
And I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Listen, everyone makes mistakes.
I just didn't want to feel pain.
I can understand where you're coming from. Give me just a moment, though. I need to look something up. Just a moment. Hold on.
Hello.
Hey, Barrett. It's Rhodes. How you doing?
Doing good, buddy. What's up?
Well, okay. So I searched the mime, right?
Okay.
And upon searching said mime, he in possession of a baggie of weed. And I'm like, oh, easy, right? Like, it was decriminalized, blah, blah, blah. How come it's been decriminalized, but we have two pieces of legislation that conflict with each other? One which states 28 grams or below is third degree possession of a Schedule 3 drug or whatever, followed by other legislation indicating that it's legal.
All right. Hold up. Where did we classify it? Which legislation was it where we classified it? I know what you're talking about, where we actually scheduled it,
If you look
right?
under legislation, it's Drug Oversight and Scheduling Administration and Governance Enforcement.
That's a word.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh,
And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the last thing on the list. It says pharmaceuticals, some public health risk, blah, blah, blah. But right above that, third degree possession of a Schedule 3 drug. Marijuana in quantities equal to or less than 1 ounce or 28 grams, which implies any amount of possession is illegal. That was signed July 29th.
29th.
And then
What's the edit history on that? Oh no, that is
that's the last, because normally it would be right underneath.
well,
It'd be signed with an edit.
well.
Okay, but
Funny that.
now look at another tab, legislation, Marijuana Decriminalization Act, right? And then it indicates the possession of up to 6 marijuana joints or an equivalent amount of weed baggies will be legal for adults.
You know what you have to do, right?
The malicious compliance route is telling me to charge, but this guy's down on his luck.
You charge it, and then you make sure that a lawyer is going to contest it, and you bring this up in court.
No
You're
lawyer's
gonna
going to
lose.
contest it. That's the issue.
Oh my god, why? I'm seriously, I'm
No
ledge
lawyer is around
of quitting the
at the moment.
marshals just to help and be a lawyer. I swear to God.
And the timeline for enactment says effective immediately. July 27th, 26th, 25th. There's a bunch of stuff. And it's supported by the Blaine County and adopted as state legislation as of August 28th.
Literally 3 days after the other one.
No, it was a month after.
What? I thought 7/29.
And then 8/28 for.
I'm saying 8/2. Oh, they edited it 8/28. It was
Correct.
submitted 8/2. Gotcha.
So,
okay.
From my understanding, I could be wrong, but I think proposed legislation may even come up here. I'm not certain. I don't know. If that does happen, I actually think that's problematic. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, no, you've definitely got
problematic
some
because if somebody was not aware that it was decriminalized, they're going to read the legislation indicating it's illegal. They're going to look at the corresponding charge still in the MDT, which needs to be removed. Oh my god.
So okay. The charge is in here, right?
The charge, well, actually, let me double check. Yeah, third degree possession of a Schedule 3 drug. Possession or possesses third degree amount of any Schedule 3 drug as listed in the dosage legislation. Doesn't specifically state marijuana, to be clear. That's
yeah, it just says any Schedule 3, which Schedule 3 is only listing marijuana right now.
And then
Wait,
Possession of drug
wait.
paraphernalia. Any item that's used in the manufacturing, production, distribution, sale, or consumption of drugs. He had rolling
Wait, haven't
papers. But how the fuck am I supposed to charge him for that
haven't people
when it's
been? I thought
legal?
somebody got a hold on. I thought somebody got arrested for fentanyl recently,
No idea.
or was somebody just saying they saw it recently?
Listen, I'm gonna process this as a DUI, not charging the possession. If there was an attorney here, I would, but to make this guy suffer, he requested an attorney, but nobody picked up. So, I would have pushed it as a means of getting it challenged, and things change. But
Yeah.
there's no purpose at the moment. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go deal with this. But yeah, I figured I'd at least make sure I'm not crazy. You know.
No, you're not. You're not crazy. It's. Whew, roads.
I'm gonna let you go. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Mr. Mime. I apologize for the delay.
It's fine. I'm just thinking about what I did.
So good news. Well, good and not good news. The good news is that I'm not pressing charges for the marijuana. If there was an attorney here who could challenge it so that we could force the rewriting of the legislation, I would. But given there's no attorney here, despite you requesting one, it would not be fruitful for me to push it with the expectation that it get appealed, considering again there's no one here.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure they're
But
busy.
to clarify, we have one piece of legislation written or signed in at the end of July indicating marijuana, regardless of quantity, is illegal, classified as a Schedule 3 drug. Then, just about 30 days later, we have marijuana being decriminalized. However, in the actual MDT, marijuana is most certainly still illegal because it falls under a Schedule 3 drug, and there's a charge for being in possession of a Schedule 3 drug. In fact, there's even a charge for the possession of anything that can help you sell or consume drugs. Marijuana would qualify, and therefore rolling papers would qualify. So drug paraphernalia would even qualify. But there's two pieces of conflicting legislation is the issue, but I'm not going to hold that against you. It's not your fault.
Yeah. Who pushed that last one?
I don't know. I do know that both the North and the South have greenlit that legislation. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there is legislation that can pass in the North, but not the South, for example. So
I think I'm aware of that. Yeah.
yeah. But both have cleared that, from my understanding. Let me find it. There's so many fucking pieces of legislation. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
This needs to be condensed. Why is there so many things? The Constitution of San Andreas, marriage legislation, legislative audit procedure, VAF, FOIA, business protocols, weapon and driver's license, judicial compensation, lawyer reclassification, speed limits, impeachments and authority conduct review, expungement legislation, stand your ground doctrine, DNA legislation, search and seizure legislation, due process, judicial election process, Patient Information Privacy Protection Act, powers and definitions of law enforcement officers, San Andreas State Marshals and Correction Officers, common law within the state of San Andreas, legislation proposal and approval process, first-time felony diversion program, Los Santos traffic regulations, drug oversight and scheduling administration and governance enforcement, marijuana decriminalization act, Blaine County business protocols, procedures, and penalties, legislative authority bank accounts, statute of limitations legislation, enhanced and expanded bail guidelines, Group 6 clearance level 3 blockade act legislation, Los Santos traffic ordinances, Chamber of Commerce of Los Santos County, appointment of the sheriff, Blaine County event support, enactment of toll roads, hunting regulations and procedures, members of the Blaine County Mayor's Office, positions and their responsibilities, Blaine County Authority account, Mayor's Office protocols and procedures, pursuit training within Sandy Shores, facially enhanced license, Los Santos County Statutory Taxation Act on Business, Priority Economic Nuance and Industrial Standards, PENUS Act, Materials and oil
Okay.
procurement of Materials and Oil Procurement of Economic Continuity Act, Los Santos County Airspace Air Masters and Pilots Licenses, Hank Act, Pets and Police Canines, Social Committee of Los Santos Police Department, Los Santos Public Photography and Video Ordinances, Los Santos County Business Ownership Inquiry, General Procedures and Protocols Act, Big PP Act, Scraps Guidelines, Fishing, Deep Sea Fishing, and Spear Fishing, Expanded Business Hours, Los Santos Police Department Quality of Life Enhancement Act, Wheel Clamp Guidelines, and finally, Discretionary Enforcement Negotiations Act. That's how many fucking pieces of legislation there are.
Yeah, and you have to keep track of every single one of well, it's a lot of those seem redundant now, so
You want to know
and
the worst
someone
part?
should clean them up. Yeah, clean
You
them up.
want to know the worst fucking part? Let me go back to
What?
the weed one that made all of this come up. They're back-to-back pieces of fucking legislation.
Yeah.
Literally, the two pieces. Okay, here's the crazy part. The legislation report was put up on July 29th, and then the Marijuana Decriminalization Act was put up 3 fucking days later. 3 days later.
Yeah, I don't know
Why
who's
not
pushing
just
this
remove
stuff.
it from the fucking thing?
Yeah, I don't get that either. I don't know who controls that, so
I'm gonna have a fucking brain aneurysm. Holy
maybe
fuck.
talk to Nino.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm. This is fucking longer than our SOPs.
It definitely fucking seems like it.
Okay. Mr. Mom, I don't mean to, drag you into this.
No, I get it. I'm a little bit of training to be part of the legal force, so I don't know.
Oh,
It's a lot to like keep track of, and it's a lot of it is really redundant.
and then the most recent report prior to me creating yours, titled "Pee and Shit on Cop Car." Sick.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It's a fucking day apparently.
I like big pee-pee.
All right, let's see. Let me take a look at your history, Mr. Mime.
Oh no, don't look at that.
Resisting misdemeanor obstruction, robbery of a low security institution, and operating a cabinless vehicle without proper protection. That's a charge.
Wait, what was that last one?
Operating a cabinless vehicle without proper protection. Illegal to operate or ride a motorcycle, ATV, or other motorized cabinless vehicle without a helmet. The helmet does not
Oh,
have to be worn if the vehicle is not in motion. This does not apply to water vehicles.
yeah, I remember why I got that one because I wasn't wearing a helmet when I was working at Senior Buns, and they really wanted to push that one.
What did you just do? Were you on an ATV?
No, I was on the scooter.
Oh, the senior buns one doing
The
deliveries?
Senior Buns, yeah, I was doing a delivery, and they fucking pulled me over.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Mr. Mime, I would like your statement regarding what you had mentioned earlier regarding the doctor. Can you explain how you got injured and exactly what occurred?
Oh, so I was trying to figure out, like, like mimes are a little bit different than like clowns and humans. So I wanted to figure out what was inside of me. So I had, one of my
Just
friends.
remember, I do have to write this down, so not so fast. All right.
Okay, sorry.
You can talk at a decent speed. Just don't speed run because it difficult to type sometimes, you know?
It's yeah. To be fair, this story's gonna go from like left to right really fast. So
Okay, that's fine as long as I can write it down.
so
Mimes
I
are
was
different than
like,
clowns and humans. Go on.
yes. I tried to crack my skull open, and my friend did that for me. And they looked inside, and there was like a big black pulsating mass in the back of my skull, and it was just open to the air for a bit. And then I started feeling funny, and then I started walking around and drinking a little more. I wasn't driving then, but uh, yeah, I got food, and then Hazel told me to go to the hospital, and then I went to the hospital again because there's a giant open hole in the back of my head. So I went to the hospital and they said, this is weird. And they poured hot molten candy over the hole. I don't know like what that is. I was trusting the doctor because they're a doctor, but they got candy and poured it over the hole and had patched it up. But I think it opened with that last crash because that happened right after. So, and I think the
All
doctor
right.
that operated on me was Naya.
Naya?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you know how that would be spelled? Is that like eh,
Naya.
okay, perfect. Do you know their last name by chance?
Nashville, like Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. So Naya Nashville. All right, just a moment.
And I definitely found out what was inside of me. It was all scary and it was like black tendrils. I still bleed red though. Oh, and then after that, I took a bunch of like these tiny blue pills and it made me feel hot and funny.
Okay. And so just to verify, um, your friend cracked your skull open. They looked inside. There was a big mask pulsating inside. Started to feel
Yeah,
funny. You're walking around, and that's when you began drinking. Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay. And um, was that the 3 bottles of whiskey that you had mentioned earlier?
Oh no, that was a different time. But uh, after drinking that a separate time, I went down to the pier and my friend said I should go to the hospital because there's a giant open hole in my head. So that's what happened after. And then I went to the uh, no, that's not
Mm.
it. Is it? I'm confused now. Uh oh, that's when the candy thing happened.
Okay.
After she recommended me
Did
to
the
go to
candy
the
thing
doctors.
happen in the hospital?
It happened in the hospital. She took me to the
Okay.
ER or no OR, and then she poured the candy in my head, and I started feeling even more funny. And then I started drinking more for the pain, and then now we're here.
And so just to verify, you were not prescribed any pain medication, correct?
Nope. I just took a bunch of tiny blue pills from the hospital and took them though.
Got it. All right. Give me a second
No problem.
because I'm going to have to reach out to uh, other parties to figure out what's going on regarding that.
Yeah, there's a lot of locations and settings, so yeah, sort that out.
Um, when you went to the hospital, did EMS bring you to the hospital or were you brought there by somebody else?
Uh, I was sober then, so I drove myself to the hospital the first time,
Okay. If there's
and
any
then
EMS command,
this.
can you call me? Sorry, you can continue.
Oh yeah, and then when I left the hospital, I drove away myself, and that's when I started drinking, and now we're here.
Okay. Um, give me a moment. EMS command is going to give me a call because I need to try to figure out who that doctor was. Um, but I know you said Naya, but more importantly, uh, pouring hot molten candy on a wound doesn't sound. That don't sound like the right thing to do. So I'm gonna try to figure that out. So give me just a moment. Don't worry, I will take into account time served regarding everything. But I'm gonna have this conversation. So just a moment.
Okay, no problem.
Post.
Hello.
Hey, it's
Hey.
Alice here.
Hey, Alice. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Um, I have a question.
Mhm. Go
How
ahead.
long have you been on duty?
I got on duty about 40 minutes ago.
Okay. Were you present at all for a situation where well, actually, let me rephrase. Have you seen any doctors on duty since you've been on duty?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay. Reason I ask is because I have an individual, the mime that was at the
Hmm.
hospital,
Yes.
where they are claiming they had surgery. Their skull
Okay.
was cracked open, and they had mentioned that the doctor did not give them pain medications, and
Oh.
also sort of like sealed the wound with like molten candy. Um,
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
and they claim the person was Naya. Hold on, Naya Nashville.
Naya. Okay.
Naya, are they a doctor? You know?
I can check. I have never met them.
Okay.
Do you know how their name is spelled? I can just
Naya.
search for their last name. Name. Okay.
Uh, looking at the staff profile, I do see
Yeah.
they're a doctor, San Andreas Medical
Mhm.
Authority staff, pharmacist.
Yes. Yeah, I see that. Um, I can pass on a complaint if you'd like. That doesn't sound like great treatment to me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also
Mm.
gonna need to speak to Reese as well because Reese did
Mm-hmm.
mention while we were at the hospital that they, I believe, knew that they had surgery earlier in the day. So I I just need to figure out if ultimately I'm just trying to determine whether or not the person who actually treated said person is an actual doctor or if they just claim to be
Mm.
somebody and did whatever, because that's problematic. Because the long story short is they were in pain. They ended up drinking a bunch of
Oh
whiskey
no.
because they didn't have pain medication to deal with it. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying this is a means of like trying to justify, because that's drinking afterwards is not a great decision. But I mean, if this wasn't them
No, it
willingly drinking and driving, I'd feel bad
yeah,
pushing the charge.
I see. Okay. Well, I will have a quick chat to Reese and see if he knows anything more.
Okay.
Because I guess like it is possible that someone was just pretending to be Naya. Um, but
Yeah, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd be able
hmm,
to contact me. The good news is,
absolutely.
um, I have 30 days to push charges, and I think, given the
Okay.
circumstances, I'm inclined to release them. And if we then find out that everything was a lie or something, I can push these charges anytime the next
Yeah.
30 days. But considering there's a lot of moving parts, that being, I believe, Reese potentially having additional information, Naya, who I don't know that I've ever met before, being
Mm-hmm.
named and like wanting to get their statement and whatnot, regarding the situation. I'm likely just going to release them and then sort of reconvene once I have all the information and then push charges at that point, if necessary. I mean, this again, I could just sort of opt to not push charges given that they were just in a rough spot, which I think is more appropriate given, it's not like this person was a raging alcoholic and hurting people. The only person they hurt was themselves when they got ejected from their car.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds yeah, like a definitely a suitable course of action. Are they okay now? Is
They
there
are,
anything we can
yes,
do?
they are
Okay,
feeling better.
great.
So I'm gonna have a conversation with them. I'm gonna release them, and then
Hmm.
I'll swing by the hospital to get Reese's statement if you just want to inform him that I am gonna be swinging by shortly.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, I will
just
do.
so I can document everything appropriately because uh,
No,
uh
definitely, and I'll try and document a bit on my side as well.
all right, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Alice. I
Amazing.
appreciate it.
No problem.
You have a
Good
good
luck
one.
with it
I'll
all.
see you soon.
See you soon.
All
Bye
right, bye.
bye.
All right, Mr. Mime.
Yeah.
So here's here's the situation. So as it currently stands, you are looking at driving while intoxicated, um, in addition to reckless driving. Now, um, here's the thing. These are essentially going to be pending charges, but I'm not pressing the charges right now. I do have 30 days to push charges, as 30 days is the statute of limitations. And I'm going to
Okay.
inquire further with the sort of medical portion of things that occurred. Reason being,
Okay.
number one, if you truly were put in a position in which you were in excruciating pain, you had a skull crack, or had your skull cracked rather, um,
A fracture, yes.
a doctor poured molten candy on said wound and didn't prescribe you any sort of pain medication, um, and that resorted to you uh, drinking. And to be clear, I'm not trying to sort of absolve you of any sort of wrongdoing or liability, but for me, intent is important, and it would be different if you just had a night out, wanted to drink for the sake of drinking, then went out and crashed. Uh, right? Like I feel like that's far different than being put in a position where you sort of resorted to it through. I don't necessarily want to say no fault of your own, given the statement you had made, but long story
My
short,
motive was not intentional.
correct. And I do believe that you've been genuine the entire time. When you originally pulled over, um, you weren't, aggressive by any means. You just sort of got back in your car, drove off, and then struck a pole within 2 blocks. In addition,
Yeah.
you're the only person who got injured. So I'm going to be releasing you today. I'm going to be inquiring with the EMS who potentially witnessed said surgery. I'm going to be speaking with the doctor when they're available. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that any doctors are available now. It's possible they went off duty. And I also want to ensure that the person who did treat you is actually a doctor, not somebody who just claimed to be a doctor. Um,
Thank you so much, officer.
Now, I am going to
I am
document
still
everything here.
sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. Again, I don't necessarily believe that this was uh, something that you intentionally did as much as it was you being put in a bad position. Now, to be clear, just because this is something that I'm doing here now does not mean that if you were to do something like this again, that the situation is going to play out exactly as is. Because the way it legally works is normally I would push these charges, and then the burden of proof would shift onto you, essentially to prove like you did not intend on doing these things, because I can prove you were recklessly driving given the circumstances. I can prove you were driving under the influence or while intoxicated. Um, so the burden of proof would have been met on my portion of things. I just don't want something like this to happen again and there be an expectation that you're just going to be released, okay? Just trying to set forth
Yeah.
realistic expectations here. Um,
That's expected.
let's see.
I did those things, but it wasn't intentional, yes. So it's still it was a bad act in the moment, but it wasn't my fault. No, it's not. That's not necessarily it.
I mean it.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, good. Good. That's the important bit. I try to make sure that people understand the consequences of their actions, especially when something like this happens that isn't really a run of the mill situation. You know what I mean? So the way I'm going to do this is you are listed on the report. It is titled reckless driving and DUI. I am going to indicate that I did not press the charges pending investigation. Now, in saying that, if I were to find out that um, it was a doctor that treated you and you were prescribed pain medication or something to that extent, and you willingly got behind the wheel afterwards despite being told not to, like, all of that would play into the charges potentially being pressed at a later time. I think the
That's
likelihood of
fine.
that is slim, but again, just trying to set forth realistic expectation here. Your vehicle has been impounded. It was impounded for a parking violation, not for reckless driving, given the circumstances. But beyond that, Mr. Mime, do you have any comments, questions, or concerns for me?
No, I think that's it.
All
I'm glad I
right.
didn't get charged for the weed.
Me
Thank you.
too. Like I said, two pieces of legislation, which when you're scrolling through the legislation tab, they are back to back, despite being, you know,
Yeah,
technically approved a
it's a
month
really
apart. But
weird timeline. Yes.
yeah. Um. All right. Well, I'm going to get you released. I will need to place you in cuffs. But
That's fine.
because you did have a knife, I'm gonna get you in cuffs. We're gonna check out your possessions, and I will release you at the back. Um. Do you need me to call somebody for you to pick you up, or
No, it's fine. I guess I'll just walk to the tow yard and
are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
fine.
Let's see.
I'm pretty sure none of my friends are awake right now.
Ooh, okay. All right. Just do me a favor, face away from me. I'll get you in cuffs. You will be able to walk. I'm not gonna shackle you here. All right, this way. Right
Okay.
over here. Right here, so we can get your possessions reclaimed. Not uncuffing you. I'm just gonna go ahead and have you get these possessions returned to your person. Okay. There we are.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. And then I will release you through the back door. And then we should be good. Mr. Mime, please don't drink. And if you are in pain, please, please, please ask a doctor for, a means of dealing with that, as opposed to, listen, I wasn't in your situation, so it's hard for me to assume the position you were in. But if that opportunity does arise, just make sure you communicate that to them, okay?
It won't happen again. I think Dr. Skip gave me something.
All right, good. Let's get you out of these cuffs, and you are free to go. You have a
Thank you. And
wonderful
what's
day,
your name
Mr. Mime.
again?
Matt Rhodes.
Nice to meet you, Matt Rhodes. I'm the Clown. Hopefully we don't
I,
meet again.
uh, I'm pretty sure I encountered you yesterday
You did? Oh, you
on the
did, I think.
freeway.
Did I?
You
Wait.
were in a club, southbound on LS Freeway.
Ooh, did I tell you to wear makeup?
I believe so.
I'm sorry.
Have a wonderful day. All right, let's go over to the hospital. Um, um, okay. Do, do, do. Need food. Do, do, do. Hope is somebody doesn't see our car. Doop, doop. Good morning.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hello. Good.
It's
All right.
going.
So both Sydney and Reese here, did see, Naya earlier with the mime, so they're happy to,
Got it. Okay.
let you know what happened.
Now, just I'm just gonna sort of make this known from the very start. I don't expect that you guys are going to have any sort of like concrete information because, from my understanding, they didn't get transported to the hospital by you guys. But I'm trying to figure out like I'm trying to get the pieces of the puzzle before I can even attempt to put the puzzle together. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So let's see here. Reese, could I have your phone number in case I need to reach out to you?
Yeah. There you go. Just another piece of paper there.
Perfect. There we are. And let's see. Sydney, you as well. If I get your phone number.
Yep. Let me just drop it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Reese, we'll start with you. Referencing the mime person that you had mentioned may have had surgery earlier, what do you recall from your interaction earlier with them? Or maybe not direct interaction, but what did you observe?
I mean, I was just going into the sea markets to get more equipment, and then I just saw them in the surgery, like the surgery room, and they were just basically looking at drugs, or not looking at the drugs, but the little fridges in there with like all the medical stuff. I think the mine was just looking at that stuff, so I'm not sure why.
Got it. Did you see them take anything by chance?
I did not.
Okay. And follow up. Did you see any doctors nearby?
I mean, there was a doctor with him, but I wasn't sure if it was Naya or not, because does Naya has blonde hair, right?
So in the MDT, she has blonde hair, but what did the doctor look like?
I didn't get a description of the doctor from Mr. Mime. He just indicated that it was Naya Nashville.
Mm.
So you saw them in the surgery room. You didn't observe them actually receiving any form of medical treatment, correct?
No.
And do you recall the description of who you believe to be a doctor? Or do you not
I think she had
recall?
like, I know she had like, was it pink pants? Or I can't remember. It was pink or white pants, and then just like a white t-shirt.
All right. Is that typical doctor attire? Sorry, I'm gonna be real. I just if you
don't
ask
know,
me
'cause
what
it's
doctors
different for
typically
each
wear, I don't know.
doctors.
I mean, outside of scrubs, I don't know.
Unfortunately, doctor apparel is available to anyone.
Got it. Okay. So the
But yeah,
possibility
the
does
clothing
exist
that they
that
were wearing is doctor air quotes.
So I'm pretty sure they normally
Got
wear
it.
like scrubs and stuff, right, before surgery, but I didn't see her in scrubs.
There's no like clothing code beyond just wearing one of two types of pants and one of two types of shirts.
Got it. Okay. Now, Reese, do you recall if said person was wearing what would essentially be, sort of approved doctor apparel?
I
If
mean,
you
it
don't know,
definitely
that's
seems doctor
perfectly.
approved, so
What was that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
it definitely seems like she was wearing like fully doctor clothes.
Okay. Perfect. And let's see here. All right, and so you didn't speak with the doctor or anything to that extent, correct?
I did not know.
Okay. Did you have any discussion with Mr. Mime at all?
No.
Got it. All right. Perfect. And do you believe that you have any potential additional information that you feel would be relevant to the situation at hand? And again, I can't stress this enough. None of y'all are in trouble or anything to that extent. I'm just trying to figure out what pieces of the puzzle exist so I can, then
Yeah,
speak with the
there-
appropriate
there's anything
parties.
else that I have.
All right. And Sydney, what did you see or hear that you feel would be relevant to the situation at hand here?
Well, they were just walking around the room. There was no real suggestion that there was even a surgery going on. I assumed he might have just walked out back on his own. All he was doing was walking around the room, asking what things were, and, being very aloof. He already seemed like he might have been on something because he's like, oh, look, a sink. I'm going to wash my hands. So he
And then he was
kind
looking
of
at
already didn't
plugs
seem
and stuff.
entirely there. He started pushing buttons on the electrical panel. So I don't know if he'd already partaken of something prior, but he didn't seem entirely. Beyond that, the doctor wasn't around for much longer and actually let us know when they were leaving that there were no more
Could
doctors on
you
duty.
repeat that? So you had said started pushing buttons on the electrical panel, and I believe, I could be wrong, you had stated something to the extent of, I don't know if he had already taken something prior. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And then you mentioned the doctor.
Kind of demeanor that he had was sort of like he might have already taken something.
Got it.
Slightly slurred, walking around very, like, it's not like straight lines to anything, just very floaty. So I was under the assumption he'd already taken some.
All right. And then you had mentioned the doctor. What was that again?
When they left, they made sure to let us know there were no more doctors on duty, which is something I wouldn't assume someone who wasn't a doctor would know to do.
Right.
Or would even think to. They had the same hairstyle as in the photo, but their hair was black and they were wearing full white, and it was the doctor's, air quotes, uniform.
You said black hair?
Yes, correct. It's like a black bowl cut.
All right. And so the person you're referring to, just to verify, you're not very familiar with Naya, correct?
I've never met them prior.
Okay. But
So
when you're
the
referring
person who
to
left and said
them,
doctors had left is the same person that I saw in the room.
got it. Okay. In when you say in the room, in an actual surgery room or like a locked.
In the
Okay.
operating room itself.
Got it. Perfect. Just a moment.
Sort of walked in, asked Reese what's going on. He said, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, I'm going. I don't need to be here to watch them do that. So I was there for like maybe 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, I was just standing there very confused.
Got it. Okay. And when the mime was sort of checking things out, was the person believed to be Naya in close proximity to them?
Yeah, they were following them around, walking around the room with them. When he went up to the electrical panel, they were behind them. When he went up to the oscilloscope, she was next to them. She was speaking to them, they were speaking to her. But it seemed kind of like a mum talking to a toddler kind of conversation more than anything.
Apparently, the mime just tweeted out, "I'm sorry" for something.
Yeah. So for context here, the I released that individual without pressing charges because I'm trying to gather the full story. And Reese, while we were here, you had mentioned them potentially having a surgery, likely because you had seen them in the surgery room. And they had told me
That's
that
what
they
I
had,
thought.
yeah, they had cracked their skull. They started feeling funny. They ended up drinking. Their friend brought them, I believe, to the hospital. And then they had mentioned that they were concerned because the doctor had poured molten candy over their cracked skull. And then that now has me thinking, like, what if it wasn't actually the doctor? You know what I mean? And if that's the case, them potentially being a victim, I would feel terrible if, they ended up resorting to drinking. I don't necessarily want to say through no fault of their own, but like it wasn't their intent to drink and drive. And additionally, nobody but themselves got hurt. Not that that makes it a good situation, but it makes it sort of less worse. Um, so I'm just trying to. It's possible none of that even happened. Like it's
Yeah,
possible.
I'd say the best thing to do is to get some kind of scan done to even see what it's like on him. If there's even a crack, you'd be able to see it still.
Oh,
And if there was
Oh.
candy, you'd definitely be able to.
Oh,
Hello,
hello.
sir.
There he is.
And
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just doing my job.
Oh, which is
Oh,
I do mime news.
Mime News. Okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Um, Mr.
we don't
Mime,
hire many presenters.
probably
This is
best to not do
same
that in the
guy.
hospital where people
Yeah.
typically get treatment.
Gotcha.
Oh, but I thought I would get a great story about people and listening to their pains and sufferings.
No, 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 no. There is typically an expectation of privacy in the hospital.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Oh, that Hippo Act or whatever it is.
yeah. So typically, a hospital, you may not want to, you may not want to do anything here.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're
I'll
good.
get
You're
out of your
good.
hair.
You're good. You
It
stay
can
I
also
safe out
interfere
appreciate it,
with
there.
the medical
sir.
equipment.
Yeah. Well, he's doing better. At
Much
least.
better. Much better. He did indicate that
Yeah.
Dr. Skip
Yeah.
gave him something. But that was sort of the additional thing was unfortunately we only had Dr. Skip. But I think I have most of what I need. I mean, ultimately, I'm going to need to speak to Naya and get their perspective, and then I'll go from there.
Hey,
So,
sir.
Sydney and Reese, I
It's
appreciate your
marked up just
cooperation and
like
your
you.
statement.
I'm sorry. Just don't
Thank you very, very much. I do have your phone number, so if I do need to reach out to either of you for any reason, which I don't suspect I would have to, I will do so. But do y'all have any questions for me? I mean, I don't have much information, but if you have
I
any,
think I'm good for now.
all right, perfect.
Yeah, I have no questions, but I do want to state that when I treated him, his eyes are extremely dilated. And so I gave him a course of Narcan, and that, eased the dilation in the eyes. So he was on something akin to like morphine or higher for like painkiller. If it was a surgery.
Okay, perfect. I have noted
It only works
that.
on.
Opiates.
That's the one. only works on opiates.
He did admit to drinking whiskey and potentially smoking weed, and was in possession of a small amount of marijuana, which then brought up the next unrelated issue to y'all, which was we have back-to-back legislation, one of which clarifies marijuana under an ounce is illegal, third-degree possession, and then the next piece of legislation, both of which are still active as of right now, decriminalizing marijuana, but the classification of drugs lists marijuana as a drug. So I don't even know. I don't know how to take all this.
Yeah. So
I will say
it's
marijuana
contradicting.
isn't an opiate, so it wouldn't be affected by narcotics.
Okay, I will document that. All right, perfect. All right, I think I have everything. Thank you both. And I will have to revisit this. Thing is, you guys typically don't run into Naya, and I don't know that I've ever met them. So this is going to be interesting for me
No.
I
to
think she's
speak
like
to them.
more NA, I think.
Okay, so more so, this would have been the very tail end of their shift situation.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, they left shortly after, so kind of track.
Perfect. What would you say if you had to estimate the timing between when y'all saw them versus when y'all responded to picking up Mr. Mime after getting ejected? Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Rough
Probably, like,
estimate.
half an hour, not even an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say like 20, 30-ish.
Because who did we get a call from? Was it Luca first? I can't remember. Or was it you that called?
Yeah.
When you treated the mime, did you see any like
All I
did
saw
you
was
see
bruising.
like
I
bandaging on the
didn't see like
skull or?
no. I didn't see anything that suggested they just had a surgery. Just
Okay.
a little bit of bruising. So washed it out and wrapped it.
Oh,
Oh, hello.
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 Reese, are you busy?
There we
No.
are. All right. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank y'all very, very much.
You okay?
No,
I
thank
will
you. I
give
appreciate
you
it.
my number in case y'all need to reach out to me for any reason. But yeah, I'm gonna get back out there. And if I get any additional information that again would require that I reach out to any of y'all, I have your contact information and will do so. I don't expect that'll happen though.
Alrighty.
Would you like me to go ahead and try and get in touch with one of Maya's, not sorry, Naya's superiors?
I should be good on that front.
Okay.
Because I think the unfortunate reality is I'm likely gonna have to make myself available a little earlier to try to reach out to Naya. I think the likelihood of Naya having done something wrong is fairly slim. I mean, especially dealing with something very traumatic, like the likelihood of not remembering things properly is fairly high, or potentially being under the influence
Yeah.
of painkillers, as Sydney had mentioned, is fairly high, and I imagine that could affect their memory or recollection of things. So I don't necessarily think, or I'm not going to assume Naya did anything wrong. I primarily just need their statement regarding what occurred, but I also don't know how that's going to work because I don't know what information they can legally release to me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It presents
For
a whole other
surgery,
issue.
they're basically required to make a medical report on it. So if anything, you should be able to request that medical report, and if they say there isn't one, then that means there wasn't a surgery.
Got it. Okay. Thank